that very responsibly to try to contact every town at least once in the year to say, how's the program going? Are you having complaints? They're not. Okay, so in the beginning, most of the towns started out with pilot programs because they were unsure. They didn't want to make the commitment of just creating an ordinance. And we proved everything with the initial pilots, which generally are 2 years long, that they're successful. And they've all been turned into ordinances because they've been successful. So Haddonfield, Tavistock, Voorhees, they skipped the pilot program and just changed the ordinance. We've done all that work for you. But if you're not comfortable with that concept, certainly a pilot program for a couple of years would be able to show you that your residents can do it just the same as residents in all these other towns. The other thing that I think is really important is that we don't look at yard size because it's been proven not to be an issue. Okay, we went by, most of the towns used to have in township pilot program and then ordinance as their background, their basics, and then we changed things. And things have modernized and we worked at changing things along. But the biggest thing is that you certainly don't need an acre to raise 4 hens. 4 people don't get an acre to live on. You don't need it for 4 hens. The average town has somewhere between 4 and a couple 12 if somebody has a big enough property. But most of it is based on where the coop and the run is located in your yard. And it's not really outrageous either because we need to have environmental and food justice here. So somebody should not have to own 3 acres because they can afford it when the average person can't afford a property of 3 acres. So ours all go by 20 feet from the windows and doors of the contiguous neighbors. So that means that the coop, which they only go into to lay their eggs and to sleep, and they're attached predator-proof, everything is predator-proof. It gets, actually, we do a site visit. Most towns do 2. One, we want to make sure their property meets the ordinance. And the second, before they can get chickens, it's like a CO for chickens. We go and check the coop and make sure it's predator-proof and it follows all the guidelines. So that's how that all works. But by 20 feet, that includes the coop and their run, which is like a gigantic, I hope, dog pen that's totally predator-proof, covered, hardware cloth, whole bit. And that has to be at least 20 feet from the neighbor's windows and doors. And the reason is that it's been proven, and we have a 36-page law review article I can give everybody, that at that distance, hens are not going to make any more noise than if you and I were having this conversation in my backyard. It's not going to wake the baby or anything like that. They certainly let you know a little song when they have the egg, but it's not long, it's not like dogs barking or even lawnmowers and things like that. And the other thing is, if you keep it clean, and people don't realize, we don't want to smell it either. If you keep it clean, they're not going to smell it at 20 feet either. So that's where it comes from. It doesn't have anything to do with you must have a 1/4 acre or a 1/2 acre, anything like that. And it may depend on how big your yard is, whether your coop can be enough for 4 hens, because it has to fit that criteria. So that is what works and what makes it fair to all residents that can at least afford to buy a coop and a run. So I kind of think I've done my 10 minutes. If you have a couple questions before I sit down. Otherwise, what I'd really like to do at some point is have a meeting maybe on Zoom with a couple of you where we can go into some of the ordinances into a lot more detail. And, you know, I'm certainly would love to work with you to help something that would work for Hainesport, for your residents, but also follow the guidelines that's made it work all over South Jersey.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you. I think you pretty much covered it all. Unless you have a question, Anna?
Yeah, I do. So 29 towns, how long ago was the first town ordinance?
2015.
2015.
Yeah, Barrington actually was 1 month before Haddon Township. We didn't know they were doing it. Our ordinance was better. But we
Haddon was 2015.
August of 2015. So we've had chickens in Haddon Township for that long, and we currently have 27 houses with hens, and it's working.
And 0 complaints.
What's that?
0 complaints in Haddon Township.
What?
No complaints.
No complaints in Haddon Township. No. So, I mean, you know, you're certainly welcome to call mayors or whatever if you don't believe me, but I can give you all the documentation that everything's working just fine. People are really committed. By the time they take the class, and then it costs us $10 for the coop, not per chicken, a year. And they want chickens, they want to do it. They don't want the program to fail because they screw up. So if anything, I think we're much more vigilant, and you know, we don't want you to say, oh, no, not working, you gotta get rid of your chickens, because we're just too committed to make it work.
All right, does Paula have your contact information?
Like to give it to her, or Anna has it.
Okay, good.
Right.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you very much.
We'd also like to get a copy of the law review, the article
Sure, I
that you.
can, yeah, I can
Yeah.
email that to you.
Perfect.
Thank you once again.
Sure, thank you.
All right, we have a discussion presentation for declaring certain property along Route 38, which is basically the mobile home park, in need of rehab in accordance with N.J.A. 40A:12A:1.
This is a sort of an expansion of the area needed rehabilitation that the committee considered, referred to the planning board a couple of months ago, and then approved for an area off of Greenwood Avenue, off of Route 38, that is apparently a mobile home facility. And those owners who have been working to upgrade the property have had discussions with neighboring property and are, I think, now under contract to buy it, or close to being under contract to buy it. And the front of it, you know, if you Google it, the front of it is an area that could probably be used to some degree commercially. They want to use the rear of it to add a few more mobile homes to the existing and proposed expanded Haynes mobile home. So, and it does seem to qualify, I discussed this with Scott, it does seem to qualify under the rehabilitation statute and those criteria. So this is a resolution, again, you're not adopting it, but you are referring it to the planning board for their review and comment before you do adopt it. If you did that, you would do that as well.
Would it be possible to see a visual of what this property looks like currently? Is they're going to demolish it, right? Or that's the most likely outcome? No?
No, I think it's important to look at it, but I just did it by Google Map. We just went on the Google
Right.
thing and said there's the property, and you can see where it is bordered on the east by, is that Greenwood? Is that-
Yes,
Greenwood.
Greenwood is.
And 38 to the north. And then behind it is the warehouse.
Okay.
So it's an area that could benefit from a designation to help enhance its development.
And who owns the property?
I don't know who owns it now. They have been in discussions with the owner of the property. There's a house on it that's 150 years old. And it was our understanding that they were under contract, that part was interested in selling the house.
I just feel like, so the last time this happened, we ended up demolishing those two lovely farmhouses on Mount Highway and putting up a big ugly old warehouse. And I just, this whole, if a building is 50 years old or more, instantly it qualifies to be, you know, an area in for zoning rehabilitation. It just doesn't sit very
It's
well.
it's one of the criteria under the statute. Again, the reason that we're not saying this is a rehabilitation area in and of itself, although it probably could qualify, we're combining it with the one that was already designated to be a rehab area that had a number of properties over 50.
Right, and I totally agree that that should be a zone in need of rehabilitation. I'm just not sure I want to do that without seeing it myself.
Well, you're not voting on it, like you're referring it to the
Right.
so you have another month to look at it.
Okay, that's fine.
And that's what I was asking, who owns the property? You know, that's, and I know you don't know that, but again, if we own the property, then we have some say as to.
No, we don't own the property.
But we don't own the property, so it's kind of like, you know,
We
sorry,
get-
sorry to see that place go, but if we don't own it, we
But
can't.
we do get to vote on the final
On,
zoning.
sure,
Right.
right. But, yeah, but if it's not our property, we can't. tell them they can't knock something down, you know what I'm saying?
Well, wait a minute, time out. Let's stipulate, this is not municipally owned property.
Right, that's what I'm saying, right. That's what I'm clarifying.
Once you declare it to be an area of rehabilitation, it doesn't mean anything other than you can now move forward with a redevelopment plan. And this town has never done a redevelopment plan without the cooperation of the property. So I
Right.
Now, again, I'm
Could-
going back to.
could, but rehabilitation doesn't give you the, one of the differences between rehabilitation and redevelopment is that redevelopment allows the power of condemnation, for example. Rehabilitation doesn't give you that power. So in a redevelopment designation, you could, against the property owner's wishes, knock the building down. He doesn't pay for it, take it. Rehab doesn't give you that power. One of the differences in terms of the scope of authority that you enjoy once it's been determined to qualify as an area in need of rehabilitation.
So what you're saying is they wouldn't demolish this building?
You wouldn't have the authority to. Now, the buyer.
The
if
buyer.
Yeah, they can demolish it.
So
But then if they're-
that's where I'm struggling, John, because what happened with the ugly warehouse is there were two beautiful farmhouses and they were declared an area in need of rehabilitation, and then the owner who bought them knocked them down. And that still doesn't sit well with me, or indeed I think many people, many residents of Hainesport, that those beautiful buildings were destroyed to make it a warehouse.
If that's the question, to me, first I reject the proposition it's an ugly warehouse.
We can agree to disagree on that.
Right, but I don't want to answer the question and have someone assume I agree with your
Right, no, understood.
Your foundation. That was done all along with the premise that it was going to be. I mean, there was shortly after the rehabilitation area was declared, we already entered into an escrow agreement with the prospective developer on the site. So there was never any secret about that, right? And then once they owned it, it was their right to demolish those two buildings. Here, this is not being proposed, nor is it sufficient size, even consider a warehouse, it's a small warehouse, it's not a big property. It's being proposed because it offers an opportunity to expand and add 4 more units to the mobile home site. It also helps clean up that rear part of Greenwood Avenue behind Allen's Oil, between Allen's Oil and the existing mobile home, which is it's sort of a no man's land, but it's a municipally owned no man's land. And if this goes according to what it is hoped to go, that strip of Greenwood that the town, for which the township is now responsible, could be vacated. We no longer have any responsibility. Because the only property owners that benefit are this owner and that owner. It's not a throughway, but it's minimal road.
Okay. I will make sure I inspect the area before I actually have to vote on it.
Yeah.
So what we're basically doing is.
So a motion would be, so if you're going to take action on this, it is a motion to refer it to the planning board in accordance with the New Jersey Housing and Redevelopment Law, for them to comment and report back to the governing body with regard to the designation of the area as an area of rehabilitation. You can just say so moved if you wish.
So moved.
Second. Thanks, John, for that explanation.
Do we have a vote on that or just?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay,
So I would do a roll call then.
okay. Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mayor Klaus?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, John. Okay, so at that time of the meeting, we're reading comments from the public. For agenda items only, please raise your hand and I'll call on you to come up. You gotta state your name and your address. Nope. No, sure. Okay.
Good evening. Can you hear me? My name is Steve Baile, 3 Bartlett Road in Hainesport Chase. And I think I've lived in Hainesport, been here in Hainesport Chase for 15, 16 years. It goes by really quick. It's my first township meeting, so it's good to see everybody.
Thank you for coming.
thank you for having Gwen. I'd like to thank her for coming to talk about the backyard fence. I also want to lend my support for the idea of revisiting the ordinance for backyard fence. So you answered the question. It's 10454F. If you have an acre or more, there's pretty much no restrictions as to what fowl, it just uses the term fowl you can have, or how many, or there's no oversight. If you have 0.99 acres, or in my case, 0.5 acres, that number drops to exactly 0. So I think there's what we're looking for, some reasonable sort of in between. You know, I don't think we're asking for just have at it, no oversight. I think oversight is still a good thing here. But I think, you know, there is a reasonable between. Like Gwen says, it doesn't take a lot of property to release a small number of chickens. Lumberton also allows backyard hens. They do have a graduated scale. So if your property is a certain square footage, you can have so many hens, you know, and it kind of goes up as your property gets bigger. That seems kind of reasonable to me. You know, and also I think the class is an excellent idea, so people know how to take care of what the requirements are, and you know, how to keep them cooped up, and so they're not running around like the stray cats that we see all the time. I guess in closing here, I just want to say thank you for entertaining this idea, and you know, hopefully we can work together to get something that works for everybody. Also, you know, since we're asking the town for something, I think the township, you know, a licensing fee would be reasonable, so the township gets something out of it as well. You know, I think that's a reasonable thing to vote to make sure people are serious about it. All right, thank you for your time, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lewis, did you want to hand up?
Yes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a resident of Mahali, New Jersey. I have two questions. Of presentation B, what's that located at? Is it close or to Sonic?
No, it's behind the propane, Allen's Propane, next to Hainesport Auto and Truck on Route 38.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying that for me. And Revolution, the very last one, 2023 91 7. Can you tell me more about it?
You talking about the 88-7?
91-7, the last one.
Okay. Fundraiser, yes, the
Fundraiser?
yeah, they're having a fundraiser for the benefit, the 100th year anniversary, raise money for that.
Okay. It was nice meeting your family at Burger King. It was so nice.
Okay. Thank you, Lewis. Anybody else? Okay, with that, I will close this portion of public comments, and we're on to ordinances. Ordinance 2023-6, amending chapter 104 of the Code of Township of Hainesport, entitled rental property to establish requirements for lead-based paint hazards. This is public hearing and final adoption. So can I get a motion to open up the public hearing on this? Can we get a motion on this first?
I'll move to open the public hearing.
Wait a second.
Second?
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore? Mayor Fox?
Yes. Okay, does anybody have any comments on this?
Hang on a sec, I'm getting a text from a resident who is saying that they wanted to speak in the last public comment section, but they weren't asked and they are muted. I do. They said they were muted, they couldn't.
Do you want to have them speak again or public comment?
Is it an agenda, or they can always speak at the end? Yeah, they can always speak, they can speak at the end.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, I don't have them forcibly muted. They can unmute themselves and speak.
And I hesitate before I close with waiting for, so. Okay, Anybody in the public have any questions on this? No, any committee people? With that, I'm gonna have a motion to adopt, final adoption. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mayor Foss?
Yes. Okay, we got consent agendas.
Oh, hang on. What was something else? We had to, no, that's right. I want to remove something from the consent agenda. I'm sorry, I'm being a bit feisty today, aren't I?
I'm sorry, what?
I'd like to remove something from the consent agenda for discussion.
We can discuss it. You wanna make it?
I thought I
Which
had
items do you
to
want?
like remove it from-
What item don't you want the group here? What do you want?
What item would I like to discuss in a public meeting as is our right? 2023-9107.
What? 91?
D, letter D, and the consent, right?
Yep.
Yep, for the
The fashion show.
fashion show, you want removed, so we can't, okay.
I just want to discuss it.
Okay, that's fine. Then let's do the other consent agenda. Does anybody got a problem if we put A, B, and C together? No? Okay, can we get a motion for resolution 2023-887, a motion for 89-7 and 90-7?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mayor Foss?
Yes. Okay, I guess we're gonna discuss, let's get a motion to, approve 23-91-7, and then we'll discuss it. We'll get a motion.
Is that how it works? Can we discuss
Yeah.
first?
Yeah, so that way it's on the table, it's
Oh, okay.
a question on the motion.
Okay, so a motion?
Motion.
Second?
I would like to discuss it.
Well,
Yeah, we're allowed, yeah.
okay. What would you like to say?
So first, this is put on as a fundraiser, okay? And I was looking at the contract with Bradford Estates, and it's for 125 people, and they are charging us approximately $25 a head, correct? And so my one question was, how are we making money out of this? Are we going to be charging residents $50 a head to attend? Because it seems to me that it's not going to make any money unless we basically, it's not going to make a significant amount of money unless we basically double the price of the fee, right? Is that, what's the plan? Is that the plan?
Frankly, the plan isn't just to make money, it's also to bring highlight to our 100th anniversary
Right, well,
celebration.
see, that's where my other question comes in, and I mean, I have some issues here because we have a lot of residents for whom even a $25 meal would be completely out of the question. And when you add on to that the fact that they probably want to go with their husband, they probably want to have a babysitter, you're looking at, you basically eliminated a whole bunch of people from being able to take advantage of this opportunity. And I think part of the problem is that, with all due respect, and I totally appreciate the hard work that's gone on, but there isn't enough diversity on the various committees that are planning these events, right? They're mostly from District 2 and District 3, they're mostly older, they're mostly quite well off, and we're really not like taking into account a bunch of our people when we plan these events.
Is this the only fundraising event we're having with
No.
this type of thing?
How many people did you say that?
125, it's
That's
in
a
the,
very small number, I'm sure that will sell out very quickly.
but that's kind of may sell out very quickly, but there are a bunch of people in Hainesport who will look at that price ticket and go,
But
There are more events that will be happening
That'll-
throughout the year in celebration
But I-
that either have
But this
little
is the
cost or
first-
no cost.
this is
But not
the first
everybody will go to every event.
right, but this is the first one that's come up to, and you wanted to pass it as a consent agenda without even talking about this issue.
No, you can talk, but what
I
you guys
know,
are doing.
but what I'm saying is, like, now you're saying, oh, there's gonna be lots of other more inclusive events, like free events. But this is the only one that's come up so far. So I
Because
think
this one has a contract.
right, and I
that needs
understand
to
that,
be
but
signed.
I think it's important to actually discuss it in public, which is a public meeting, that's what we're supposed to do, so that people who want to know, who are listening or in the audience, understand but that's what's being planned at this point in time, and also that there are other future events coming down the track that are more inclusive and free, right? If I hadn't opened this and taken it out of consent agenda, this discussion would not be open to the public and they would not know this, right? I think it's important
No,
that we
they would find out
They would
when
find
as they come up.
But they
Everything
wouldn't
is
know
in the
it now.
planning stage.
They would, yeah,
But this is the first thing that has come up in the planning stage that needs a deposit.
I understand that, but I guess I
Because the Bradford
err,
Estates,
So nobody's
familiar
trying
with
to keep anything
much in
secret.
advance.
I err on the side of communication with the
Okay.
residents and making sure that the residents are coming along with us as we plan for the 100-year celebration.
Right?
And this is me trying to do that, that's all. This is me trying to make sure everyone knows that that's a thing, this is a thing, and this is exactly what it's gonna be, and there are gonna be other things coming along that are inclusive, diverse, free, for a younger demographic, et cetera, et cetera. Just wanted to make sure that that is being talked about, because it's important. We don't just consist of middle-aged and old rich people in District 2
And I gotta figure out what the cost, okay, when you say 25 hours, have you been out to eat lately? I'm gonna tell you, you can't go to any restaurant, even in Hainesport, with a spouse and have a meal and not
Right.
spend $80. So I don't,
And I'm telling you that there are people in Hainesport who never go out to eat.
well, then they probably wouldn't do this.
and Bradford Estates may not be the place to go eat. You know, there are certain places that people would go to eat based on what they can afford. And that doesn't mean that we need to alienate anyone, but there are certain events that some people may be more open to than others. And if you've been to Bradford Estates, that's not gonna be a place that's gonna be inexpensive. So it is what it is, and because of that, plans need to be made early on to get that reservation. This is one of the few places in Hainesport that can hold this type of event. And we're not saying that we're not having any others, and we're not saying we're only limiting it to certain types of people or anything like that at all. It's just we're basically trying to get things going, and it's a nice event, it's a nice affair, it's a fundraiser, and it's just not for everybody. I just don't see what the
It's a good thing it's not for everybody, it's only 125 people.
right. Just not everyone's going to be able to make it.
If I could also make a suggestion, because I've, dealt with these concerns in my prior position, if somebody would like to, an organization would like to sponsor people to attend these that could otherwise not be able to afford it, that isn't available, to anybody who feels, that it might alienate people. This is a fundraiser, so of course it wouldn't be free, but there are gonna be other, fundraisers coming up. T-shirt sales we've talked about a lot of other opportunities, and, but of course this whole event, all the different things that we have planned for our 100th anniversary cannot just be free. We have to raise some money for some of the costs associated with it. But if any organization wants to sponsor anybody who maybe could not afford to take it, that is an opportunity that is available for these people. Just a suggestion.
It's a great idea.
But keep in mind, it is a fundraiser. I haven't been to too many fundraisers where I spend less than $100 a ticket, truthfully. So,
Okay.
okay, we need a motion to accept. Oh, we already have a motion, a second. We get a vote.
Need a vote.
Sorry. I didn't think you should attend.
I'll second.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mayor Klaus?
Yes. Okay. With that, we got approval of the business
We
license.
have another
Oh,
resolution to add to the agenda,
Okay.
if you would. It was sent over.
Yesterday.
Was that the consent, or was that?
No, this is the resolution, yes, consenting to the waterfront.
It's 2023-94-7, it's in the folder that the artist have.
Yes, so it's a follow-up to a resolution that was adopted last year. It is for that, senior development. And we had already done the resolution consider an easement. This is because the discharge ultimately goes into the creek and the waterfront development permit. We don't meet again until August, and we're trying to move this thing. Now, if you approve this resolution, it is not granting them any rights on the property, we're not giving them the easement. This simply says, we own property which is impacted by this proposed infrastructure for stormwater. We consent to your going to the DEP. We're not approving anything, we're not land use board, we're not giving you an easement, but we are saying it's our property, and yes, you can go ahead and make the application. That's all this does. So if you're okay with that, the first motion would be to add 94-7 to the agenda.
So we're allowing them to
Make an application.
make an application, is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Is this the same concern where we had a resident who was concerned about the original application where it was going into the lake
Correct.
at Lakeside, right?
Yep.
And now it's going
It's
through
not going into that development. It's not
through
going.
Creekstone Park and into Copes Creek.
Okay.
But the DEP will have a good look at that and see
They
if
have.
that is, okay, all right.
I'll make a motion to add.
94-7?
Correct.
Okay, wait a second.
I'll second.
Get a
Mrs.
roll.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery,
Yes.
Mrs. Evans,
Yes.
Mayor Klaus.
Yes.
Motion to adopt would be,
What's that?
motion to adopt the resolution would now be in order.
Okay, so now we have a motion to adopt resolution.
So moved.
Second?
Mrs. Gilmore,
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery,
Yes.
Mrs. Evans,
Yes.
Mayor Klaus.
Yes. Okay, businesses, let's go approve the business licenses, and we do them all together. And approval of the charity clothing bin licenses.
Yeah.
Okay, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve both the business and the charitable clothing bin licenses.
I'll second.
Get a vote?
Mrs. Evans,
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore,
Yes.
Mayor Klaus.
Yes. Okay, comments from the public?
2023, there's that full?
No.
Well, that was, oh.
That was the
First,
first.
the GIF.
All right, that was that. It got, in my book, it was in a different, I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, we got comments from the public, limited to 5 minutes. If you wanna put your hands up and, I'll call on you.
Do you want to allow the individual online?
Oh, sure. Well, they're here as the public, yes, sure. If they wanna speak now, we'll let them go first.
I don't know which one, caller 1 or caller 2, if you wanted to provide a public comment on the agenda item from earlier, now's your time. You can unmute yourself.
If you're speaking, we cannot hear you.
No, they're still muted, so
And you can't unmute them because they seem to think they can't
I'm
unmute
not,
themselves.
I don't, no, I can keep them muted, but I don't have the option to unmute them, so it's their, falls in their court. No? All right.
Okay, anybody else for public comment? Kitty?
Captain McNellis, 407 Bishop Avenue, Hainesport. I'd like to start out by reading something that was in your Hainesport Township paper here. It says that, as always, if any of you have questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to myself or any member of our committee. After all, we are here to serve you. And that is exactly what it is. And I would really appreciate it. I left a message for all the committee people. I am now the Vice President of Senior Citizens because Tish has been so busy. She's got a lot of family issues, and so she can't, she's been trying to, going to call you and try to set up a meeting. So I called you and tried to, but apparently. But anyway, I would like, if anybody on this committee, Leila,
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery, Anna, Jerry, could come to our meeting, and Bruce, on Thursday at 12 o'clock. Paula Tosca, you also, and maybe Donna, and sit down and try to get this thing straightened out. Unless we talk it out and you understand where we stand, and then we can, I just can't see how you can say to us that this is Donna Casey's building and she can do anything she wants. Now, that's what you've told me about 6 times,
I
Shirley.
mean, I never said that.
Yes, you certainly
No, I
did.
said, she's in charge of
It's
recreation.
her building and she can do anything she wants. That's
I'm not
what
gonna
you
continue
told me.
this. Okay,
And
you
that's
finish
not
talking.
how it's supposed to, it's
Finish talking.
supposed to be a community center. So if any of you could come at 12 o'clock, it would be greatly appreciated.
This is Thursday, this coming Thursday?
This next Thursday, yes. It's our senior citizen meeting day,
It's the
2
13th?
days from now.
Right, okay.
If I may interject and say that only one other committee person may attend this. If there was more than 2, it would be a violation of the Sunshine Law.
I could attend, but obviously I will defer to.
As long as I come in here and ask questions and everybody just sits up there and goes, "Duh," it's never gonna be resolved.
I will defer to Jerry or Leila, but Jerry is the mayor and Leila is the senior citizens liaison, but otherwise I will come along with Ken.
Also, I would like to ask Paula, I understand you took up a collection at the community day and got stuff for veterans. Is that true?
I was not here for Community Day. I didn't make the collection for veterans.
You did, nobody took up a collection for
I
veterans?
did personally.
No, I'm not asking you if you did, I'm
Yeah,
saying,
actually,
did somebody take up a
No,
collection?
that is what you asked. You asked me if I took.
Because
a
I've tried
collection.
to take up a collection out here for 15 years, and it was all good until you didn't like the box I had out there.
Okay, the
Now,
box
then
is
you
still here.
got 2 plastic containers for the other people that had stuff out there.
Right.
But you never got a plastic container for the veteran. But you did tell me, but don't worry, Kitty. If I get anything for the veterans, you will know about it. I went for years and years to Veterans Haven. I still go, but I buy all the stuff. But it would be nice if I could get some help with it.
Well, we wanted to provide that opportunity to Mr. Lontoc and the veterans that he represents also, to do a collection for his organization that represents that.
Why is it okay for the other 2 things, but not for me?
Just as it was afforded to you with your bid out there, we provided that opportunity to Mr. Lontoc and his veterans as well. And your box is still here, and if anybody comes in and specifically says they want to donate to your veterans, I put it in there.
You're not gonna bring anything in here for no veteran if there's nothing out there that says this is a collection box for the veteran.
A lot of
We
people
have
came
this
in
thing over
from all
Veterans
social
Day.
media.
And
A lot of
we
people
have
did
for 2
donate.
years it's been at the firehouse.
What has?
2 years Veterans Day has been over at the firehouse.
I think it was at the street center, the community center, yes.
No, the 21 that took our day at the street building. And, I just like to get some of these things straightened out, because I feel like, I don't know, I moved here in 1953. And I've done everything I can to this township that I can help any way I can. Even giving blood, 9 gallons now. And all I get is when I ask anything. So please, if anybody can make it to our meeting, it would definitely be really appreciated.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, anybody else? Louis?
Good evening, Louis Lopez. I'm a resident of Mount Holly. I just want to thank you, Alan Evans, for clarifying more at the last resolution. Thank you, appreciate for explaining that more in depth. Second is, it was, as I say, it was nice to see you. Finally say, you related to that guy from Hainesport? I said, yeah, that's him. When you see him, say hi. My name is Lewis. It was funny. I said, then second is him going to build more warehouses or in the future, we'd like to see more green, like green space, like trail more. I would like to see, you know, from Mount Holly to Hainesport, from Hainesport to Mount Holly. I would like to see, I know there's funding from the state that can help that. You know, to see trail, you know, to cross connection with other towns. And what's the status of the warehouse by the bypass? Is still occupied? Is any?
We don't know it. I'm sure.
I ride my bike, everything.
I
I'm
don't know if
seeing.
it has a CO yet, or I don't know.
There's not. Oh.
I'd have to check on the construction rules. I don't know.
I'm just curious. And the train tracks. Could we get like some kind of trail or is that to your property or is that the railroad?
The train tracks?
Yeah.
That belongs to Conrail and Railroad. We have no, that's a federal, we have no authority over that whatsoever.
Some for a railroad car. We have to ask them permission, right?
I would say good luck with that. It's hard to get anything with the railroad.
So you agree no more warehouse for Hainesport, right?
No, I didn't say that.
Let's say more warehouse, you know, more cutting trees, you know, less global warming. I mean, we like to see more or less, you know, more green space. No, I'm just giving my opinion.
Well, we all like to see more green space, but unfortunately we don't own the properties.
Okay, I appreciate it and thank you for having me as a guest. Just remember, July 13th is the next planning board in Hainesport. Everybody to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bruce. Anyone else? Member Harris.
Well, thank you for the introduction. 7 Elsinore Drive. I'm using my courtroom voice. A couple of announcements from the Hainesport Democrats. So for these announcements, I will be up here as the chair of the Hainesport Democrats. The first is that the Hainesport Democrats will be holding a meet and greet on Thursday, August 31st at 7 p.m. at the Kenneth E. Street Community Center. Special guests will include Burlington County Commissioner Baile Singh, the LD8 Democratic candidates, and of course myself, Deborah Harris, and Bob Mode, who are running in for Hainesport Township Committee. All ages are welcome, and details are available on our Facebook page. The second announcement that I have is that the Hainesport Democrats are sponsoring a movie for the Township 2023 Movie in the Park series. Thank you, Donna, for your help in coordinating that. We're sponsoring Lyle Crocodile. Super excited about that, which will be shown on Friday, September 29th at dusk. So I don't know what time that is, but I'm sure Donna will let us know. Mark your calendars. We hope to see you there. My daughter loved that movie, so I'm sure the kids will love it as well. On an unrelated question, and this is probably going to be for Mr. Gillespie, so it's up there. The document called Notice to Property Owners or Agencies sent out when an applicant has applied to the Joint Land Use Board for a variance contains the following sentence. The public may inspect all documents relating to this application during normal business hours in the office of the Secretary of the Board in the Township Municipal Building. When I recently tried to view the documents, I found that if the primary person responsible for the document is not present, there's not necessarily a backup. So there's no backup person. And I wound up actually having to schedule a time to view the documents. So I just want confirmation if what the process actually is, if perhaps the language needs to be corrected, or maybe there is actually a backup person for this process, or maybe the process itself needs to be changed. Also, I'm just gonna like ad-lib here. So you might not be able to comment on this one because you're a town solicitor, but for Chesterfield. So in Old York, the Chesterfield Township
which I'm gonna have to check cases and see if it's still pending. You would probably know, but I know you can't comment on it. The issue is rehabilitation versus redevelopment, and the statute, what the definition is of rehabilitation versus redevelopment. Rehabilitation, it's argued, encourages renovation or reconstruction of existing structures and allows a municipality to offer tax abatements on improvements. Redevelopment permits mainly new construction with some rehabilitation as well as setting land aside for streets, parks, and other public needs. So this is actually a suit now that's either in the works, pending, in the township where Mr. Gillespie is also a solicitor, that is basically arguing, well, what exactly is the definition of redevelopment versus rehabilitation? So this is not yet settled law.
Well, thank you.
You're
Is there
welcome.
anybody else? Yes.
No introductions.
Oh, Karen, more.
My name is Karen Torney for Eastern Way. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Mrs. Paula King on her recent nuptials. I'm sure we all wish you many joys and much happiness. Okay, in serving our community and county, I will be volunteering at the farm fair next week, starting on Monday, working on registrations, and I will be also there in other areas during the week. Also, in further support of our community, Ken Montgomery and I are happy to be sponsoring the July 30th concert in the park, featuring the Tucanee Creek Bluegrass Band. They will perform classic bluegrass and country hits, as well as pop tunes from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and rock and roll from the 60s. Please come out and join us on July 30th, as well as enjoying all the other Sunday evening concerts from now to the end of August. And just please note that the Coots Band concert that was rained out on Sunday evening will be rescheduled in a later date in August. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Okay, Mrs. Casey, Donna, come on up.
Donna Casey, 1703 Cotton Street, the Recreation Director. I thought that I would come and share with you some of the things that I've done since I came on board as Recreation Director 4 years ago. We were asked to add a few more activities to our schedule, and so we did. At the complex, we worked with the Hainesport Boy Scout to establish a township hero banner program for an Eagle Scout. And it grew over the last 3 years. We've had many more banners added to that, as you all can see when you walk around the park. Got lots and lots of wonderful compliments, and I already had someone call me about putting a banner up for next year. So it has become very popular. This event starts on Memorial Day. We have a wonderful ceremony out here. We have many organizations. It's really grown, the Memorial Day event. And then after the Veterans Appreciation Dinner, which we have held at the Community History Center, and the last 2 years, because it has grown, we now hold it at the firehouse. So we do show appreciation for our veterans all around. We celebrated Earth Day with many wonderful contributions from the Harvard Baptist Academy Art Program, the Hainesport Environmental Commission, the Township Recycling Coordinator, Star Child Nature School, the Burlington County Library, and members of our preschool story team were there with crafts and stories, which books were read by Anna Adams. Thank you, Mrs. Adams. We began a community wellness day event with the Jefferson School of Nursing and other local professionals in the medical field. These events have grown, and this last event was amazing, I have to tell you. Many, many people came out. We figured there had to be at least 1,500 to 2,000 people that attended that event that day. When COVID kept everyone inside, we continued our Concerts in the Park series, Movies in the Park, and we implemented the Fall Food Truck and Antique Car Festival, adding a scarecrow contest last year, which we will be doing again this year, open to the residents. We had to move the tree lighting with Mr. and Mrs. Claus outside, beginning with a parade with the fire company and the New Jersey State Police. We had entertainment, we had games, and we had refreshments. We also had to change the Easter egg hunt with the distribution of eggs in bags, and this event is also preceded by the small parade. We continue to have our concerts in the park and have added more movies in the park. We end the season with a trunk or treat event. This is held in the parking lot out here on the side and is sponsored by the township staff, the EMS, fire company, the New Jersey State Police, and area businesses. In February, we sponsored a Have a Heart to Give shoebox for the area homeless residents. We collected over 150 boxes that were distributed through the First Presbyterian Church in Mount Holly. We continue to collect throughout the year non-perishable food for our local food bank for our Cans of Hope campaign. The Hainesport School also is involved in this and helps out twice a year. We are working on our 4th annual Gingerbread House Contest event, coordinating with the Hainesport Volunteer Fire Company, Storytime Crafts, and the public judges the gingerbread houses. We have our preschool Storytime program that we begin again in September. We will hold our 4th annual First Responders Appreciation event on October 27, 2023. Thanks to Dr. Betty Forbes, we have also begun having a flu clinic at the Street Center. First 2 were sponsored by the Acme Pharmacy. This year, Stein's Apothecary will hold the clinic on October 19th from 11 to 2 p.m. And they will not only do flu shots, but they will have other shots available. And that will be listed in the flyer. We also sponsor a Halloween house decorating contest, a holiday house decorating contest. The Burlington County Library held classes for seniors in the Street Center to improve their skills in computer and cell phones. Working with the chairperson of the local Senior Citizens Club, we have had various businesses come to the Chemist Street Community Center once a month to present different programs to help the senior group and encourage new membership. Examples, Chefs for Seniors. They talk about in-home food service. JAG1 Physical Therapy discussed balance. 3D PT came and talked about arthritis. The Burlington County Sheriff's Department came and discussed home safety tips and handed out quite a lot of tchotchkes, as I call them. And our own fire marshal came and discussed fire safety in the home. The response was very good. We had a bus trip of historic sites in Burlington County, ending with a nice meal in Bordentown. It was such a hit, we've been requested to do another one. We're hoping to coordinate another one within a year. We just had a trip down to the Tropicana AC for a show, which was fantastic, and everyone seemed to enjoy themselves. We are presently working on our 5th annual adult dinner dance. It's September 22nd, and that will be held at the Firehouse. Our 2023 summer tennis program has begun. If you're interested, fill out a registration form and bring the check into the recreation office. We'll be happy to take it. Mr. Johnson is always looking for new people. So after saying all that, going forward, we are working diligently on our 100th anniversary. The committees and subcommittees have been formed and they are working on the township's history, a drive and walking tour of historical sites, entertainment, guest speakers, a tea and fashion show, 100 Years of Fashion. Book the date, March 3rd, 2024. Also, a themed dance for some of the teens in our township. We will be utilizing the Street Community Center with artifacts, photos, and much more. And the highlight of our year will be a huge event held on June 1st, 2024. Okay.
Thank you, Donna, we appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You've been busy.
Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else? Yes, come on up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, Tower should be next, yes.
Hi, you'll be next. There's somebody at the podium.
Good evening, Mayor Klaus, members of the committee. My name is Leonard Ciccatello. I live at 215 Devon Lane in Hainesport. I'd just like to make a brief statement to address a matter that was mentioned during last month's committee meeting. It had to do with health care benefits for past committees. And it became apparent that only partial information was presented. In government, policies are considered acceptable until they are no longer deemed so. In fact, health care benefits for elected officials in all New Jersey towns were once considered normal and customary. There was a practice that was implemented to encourage individuals to run for elected office. However, it's important to note that this policy was discontinued during the Christie administration. Please recognize that these benefits were offered and availed by towns all over the state, regardless of whether they were run by Republicans or Democrats. In government, certain policies can sometimes be considered acceptable until they're not. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else? Karen?
I'm sorry, I'm being asked to come up and say something.
Okay.
Karen Torty, 40 Way. On behalf of the Hainesport Republican Club, I am being asked to mention that we are having a fundraiser at the Trenton Thunder on August 26th at 6:30 p.m. Tickets are $35, and they include all your entrees, hamburgers, cheeseburgers, hot dogs, chicken tenders, veggie burgers, potato salad, garden salad, mac and cheese, watermelon, chips, pretzels, fountain soda, and water. So we will have reserved seats at the comfortable picnic tables. We're going to have an all-you-can-eat buffet. You can see your group name on the video board and special group rates on merchandise, and there will also be fireworks. And I am happy to say that I believe some people are stepping up and purchasing tickets that we will be able to donate to some children in the area. So if anybody would like to support our fundraiser, we would welcome all people. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we have somebody going on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Hey everybody, good evening, hi. So I'm Diane Bahiri, I live at 7 Baile Court in Hainesport, New Jersey. And the reason why I called this meeting, I apologize, I'm not able to meet in person, I'm still working, so my sincere apologies. But the purpose is because I do have a deed of easement restriction on my property, and one of the restrictions that I'm concerned about is this is what is recorded in the county clerk's office, that I am responsible for the structures of the basin. I own a property where I do have a basin, a retention basin. This actually supports 16 homes where there's water flowing to the basin. And on my restriction document from my deed, from my property, that I and myself and my neighbor, we are responsible for the structure of the basin, for the storm drain pipes, for if the basin should fail or it stop working, for the structure, that we are responsible to fix that, which will cost us maybe $100,000 more to fix if the structure fails. The other issue I want to talk to you about also, we are responsible for every 10 years to have an excavation to be done, which means all the debris or everything that's in that basin to be removed in the basin, which is landscape would charge me $40,000 to $50,000 to do. So I just want to bring this to your attention. This was approved by the Hainesport Township Planning Board. They approved a site plan with Bruce Packer on the builder for 2 homeowners to be responsible to fix the structure of the basin, to be responsible to excavate the entire basin. So I know Paula requested for me to send this document. I do have a hard copy of it, and again, I apologize, but I'm planning to drop this off to the township regarding this restriction that's recorded in the county clerk's office.
Loser? Okay. Is there anything else, ma'am?
Well, okay, so I will send a copy of the document.
Okay, is that it?
Well, I was just concerned that the township, as you all know, that the law, like mandated by the state of New Jersey. A homeowner should not be responsible for a structure of the basin, nor for, in sort of the maintenance to remove any sort of debris or anything that's in the basin. Where the basin ends, to be very clear, my landscape company, they're maintaining wherever the basin ends. That's my responsibility. I get that. Myself and my neighbor, we are maintaining where the basin ends. Where the water flow ends, that is our responsibility. And this is really mandated by the state of New Jersey. It's the law that a homeowner should not have a restriction on their deed for a basin to be the responsibility for the structure. If the structure fails, this is like $100,000 plus for that liability on the homeowner. Now, and again, this is recorded on my deed. So it is really, if I want to sell the property, it will show up on the deed that I am responsible for the structure of the basin. I'm responsible to remove, excavate, and remove all that debris in the basin every 10 years. This basin is huge. It's a huge responsibility for this to be put on two homeowners that it was never, should have been put in place only if the planning board would follow the DP rule and regulation that's mandated by the state of New Jersey. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. And obviously, as I stated before, I'm just gonna confirm that mowing the basin where it ends, we are responsible for that. Wherever the basin ends, it's the homeowner's responsibility, and we're okay with that. And also the solicitor, I don't know if he's still there or not, but Mr. Gillespie, he's still the solicitor of the township. He had already prepared the documentation for me. Hello?
We're listening, yes.
Yes, Mr. Gillespie had already prepared the documentation for myself and my neighbor to sign it, but the last administration, before your administration, the previous mayor was Tony Gordo, and it was retracted after we were about to sign it. And I'm trying to understand, it's not a big deal, it was retracted, but we were okay to sign it, but that is the law of the land. This should not be a homeowner's responsibility for this to be in my deed, for me to be responsible for the structure of the basin. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to comment. I dialed in earlier. I was on a teleconference. I was trying to speak, but the system just muted me. I was in a conference since 6:35 p.m. today. But the system just muted me. It didn't allow me to speak to the public comments. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you got in.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you so much. And I want to say one more thing. I'm very blessed to be this township. I must say that you guys are doing a great job. The community members, the mayor, the parks, and everything is so beautiful. The township is. I'm so happy to be, living in this community. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Katie?
I just want to mention that the disabled door still isn't working, going in and out.
Just try it.
And we
We tried to record it. Huh? It what?
It's working.
Why didn't it work when I tried to come in at 2 minutes to 6?
Well, actually, if I can address what's been going on, and I'm actually quite proud of the fact that we figured out the problem. So,
yeah.
and actually, it was not figured out by many prior administrations. So this building is operated by a carry door system, which is a computerized system. We have to put in a schedule at the beginning of every year as to when the building has to open and close. We anticipate holidays, we anticipate our work schedule.
I was told that was done, that it was
So-
set up for these meetings.
So, it was never set up for these meetings because it would require a second building open and close time, and we don't know a finite end time for our meetings, right? For the governing body meetings, the committee meetings, and the land use board meetings. We don't know when the meetings are gonna end, unlike we know when our operating hours are open and closing. So, what we've done is we've gone in and we have created a second schedule for both the committee meetings and the land use board meetings, trying to anticipate a reasonable close time so that we're not out of here and the building's left wide open. And we've put that in the system, so now the building automatically opens. What we were doing was bypassing the carry door system. So the system thought that it was still closed which doesn't engage the handicap button. If the building thinks it's closed, then the handicap system won't work, but now that we have it scheduled as an open and close time, it does.
Why didn't the door open?
It should have opened for you today. I'll check it with you. Actually, when we're done, we'll do it
I
together.
pushed the button a
Okay.
couple times, and I had to open the door to come in.
Okay, we'll do it
I'm
together.
not a liar,
I know you're not, but we'll do it together.
so don't tell me it's fixed, because it's not working. Or
Okay.
at least it did not work for me.
All right, well, we'll try it together.
Okay. Any other comments? With that, I'll close the public comment. Okay, let's get any comments from the administrator?
I do. Thank you. So, as everybody in the world knows, put it out there again for the millionth time. The Thomas Dambo Way of the Bird King Troll sculpture build at Creek Turn Park was a huge success. The actual build began Monday, June 19th and ended Wednesday, June 28th with a quaint unveiling by Thomas Dambo and his team. His builders, volunteers from Hainesport, surrounding communities near and far, and support from many of our local businesses. Big Rusty, a 20-foot sculpture made of wood, pallets, and parts of the abandoned pottery buildings that she is leaning on, is now a permanent resident in Hainesport Township. So as you know, as we all know, the project has put Hainesport on Thomas Dambo's world map of over 100 troll sculptures from all over the world. So the township embarked on this creative endeavor with the Silk family over 2 years ago, leveraging a donation from the Blue Water Property Group only several months ago to fund the project, to fund most of it. Despite the visitors accessing the closed park, many are respecting the gate and attached park closed sign. Accordingly, we have a lot of work to do with the area and the grounds around the sculpture. The Environmental Commission is coordinating a park cleanup this Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we do need volunteers ages 6 and up to assist. Please email creekturn@jklfamily.com to pre-register and answer any questions related to the cleanup. Supplies and refreshments will be provided, and I will be there along with my husband to come out and volunteer. Yes.
Ages 6 or
16. Did I say 6?
Yes, you did.
16. Okay, that's weird. Did I say husband? More important? So weird. So we do ask only those ages 16 and up be actually on the site and there to volunteer. It's going to be manual labor. We will be providing the supplies and the tools, but that email is going to the head of the Environmental Commission, and she'll be able to answer any questions for you. So, and I do want to thank everybody for all their support and their help with this. You know, it's a great way to get us pushed in the direction to finally get this park going and the plans going for the park. Obviously, COVID kind of put everything on the back burner, and it's been difficult getting momentum, and I think this really is going to provide us with the needed momentum to get that passive park project going. So we're looking forward to that.
And Paula, people just can't show up, right? They need to register to help.
Yeah, it needs to be a controlled environment. We're trying, with everything with this project, we're trying to keep it as controlled as possible.
Yeah.
Plus, we have waivers that need to be signed and executed, and we need to gauge the number of volunteers that we have.
Yeah, so we want volunteers, want to encourage volunteers, all help, but we just need to go through some protocol from the risk perspective and just the control perspective with everything else we do.
Thank you. So far, also, I have received 7 100th anniversary logo submissions to date, and to remind everybody that the contest will end on July 16th. So please push that out, and we encourage more people to participate. RFPs for engineering work for the municipal hockey rink went out on July 3rd and are due back on July 28th. And I do plan on making a recommendation of award to you at the August meeting, so that capital project is underway.
I have a question, clarification. It's to enter the 100-year logo. Is it it's for Hainesport residents? Is it can former Hainesport residents participate, or is it just current? And sorry to put you on the spot with this. I just
know if I have all
clear.
the
Coming down to the wire.
think it's Hainesport residents.
Current.
So it's current. Yeah, that's what I thought, yes.
Check the ad.
It just popped up in my head, so by the time I looked at the app, the meeting would be over.
Yeah, the guidelines are online, they're available on the
Yeah,
website.
exactly.
And on the app, if you want to check out.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay,
Thanks,
John,
Paul.
from our solicitor comments.
There were a couple of, I guess, questions or comments posed that, do we respond to them? Regarding,
Yeah, I think it's fine, yes.
sorry. So I'll go in reverse order. With regard to Ms. Bahari and the basin. I recall that situation, that was 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, it was a while ago. And it was fully investigated. I don't recall what documentation I prepared that they were about to sign when the township committee retracted it. I have no idea what that was. I'll look it up. But I do recall that we had numerous discussions about this, that we physically inspected these basins on a number of occasions, that we had discussions with the DEP. Did they come here?
We actually had a formal meeting.
We had a meeting with the DEP about this. And at the end of the day, it is the homeowner's responsibility. They bought the property. The covenant was in their title. It's not like they bought it and found out later, oh my gosh, I didn't know I was responsible for this basin. It's a recorded restrictive covenant. That is the responsibility. I am not aware of any New Jersey law that says basins can't be or shouldn't be the responsibility of the homeowner. It certainly makes sense. That's why sometimes you have homeowners associations that are responsible. It's not always the municipality that's responsible. And the way this development was submitted, applied for, and approved, can't blame the joint land use board. They approved what was submitted. The application sought that, right? I mean, it's these property owners' responsibility. So the request basically is for the taxpayers to assume this responsibility now. And previous committees said, if we don't have to do that, why would we when the property owners bought it? And whether it's gonna cost 6 figures, as Ms. Bahari thinks it might, I don't know, I can't comment on that. But whatever it costs, that was the benefit of the bargain when you purchased the property. So I'll look forward to see what it was, if the committee wants me to, but I do recall that this was discussed for almost a year, if I remember correctly.
Tell me it's mayor, then it was
No.
2017.
Can you develop one HOA
No,
property?
can you develop an HOA now?
Oh, you'd have to, I suspect you could, but you'd have to have everybody in the development voluntarily agree, as opposed to setting it up in advance where it is a homeowners association and they buy into that.
Well, if she said it's supporting 16 homes in that community, then would it not be a consideration to put forth an effort to try to develop an HOA since it's servicing those 16 houses?
Well, they could, but I'm willing to bet that some of those folks are gonna say, no, thank you. I don't want to chip in on that responsibility.
At this point in time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they can if they wish to share in the expense, because at the end of the day, the argument could be made that they benefit from it, then that's purely a voluntary decision. And if they all agree to it, then they could form it, sign whatever covenants, relieve her of it. But at the end of the day, the township's still gonna have to approve that, because the township had to approve, as it did when the development was approved, the stormwater infrastructure.
And developments that have HOAs implemented with their
Hey,
approval.
can I make a comment? Is it possible I can make a comment quickly to respond to that comment?
Sorry, miss, sorry, it's, we only have public speaking.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry.
all right, no worries,
But
thank
if
you.
you'd like to send an email,
I will.
to the poll.
I
Okay,
will.
all right,
Yeah,
thank
send
you.
an email that the document that comes, you said they'll take care of structure and all that, it's not recording, by the county clerk's office. I don't know if you remember whoever's making that comment, that was the agreement.
Okay, thank you.
I'll send it, thank you.
One of the other questions raised this evening was about a notice of a hearing, and it said that the plans and materials are on file with whoever at this municipal building, and that office wasn't available or wasn't open. Should the notice be changed? The notice shouldn't be changed. The notice follows what the statute says. happens a lot. Sometimes people aren't in their offices, sometimes people are sick, sometimes the office is closed. You come back the next day, but you don't change the notice. And then the comment about rehabilitation versus redevelopment designation. And I remember Ms. Harris talked about this, I think, at the February meeting. And it may have been, I don't recall specifically, it may have been about the warehouse on Marne Highway 541 in particular. I do recall there was a term, phrase that was used. Warehouse sprawl. And the suggestion that calling it rehabilitation when it was really going to be a redevelopment is a bait and switch. I remember those words. And I think I remember you saying that you were following it closely, the case in Chesterfield, which was then pending at the time. And I did handle that case on behalf of Chesterfield. That case involved the former Old York Country Club that had been closed and had been declared to be an area needed rehabilitation because of the buildings that were on site, or the buildings that was on site, and the sanitary system, septic system, I think it was. And the township adopted a redevelopment plan that called for an up to 1.3 million square foot warehouse on the property. And neighbors sued over the redevelopment plan, saying that that's not what rehabilitation is. As Ms. Harris said this evening, rehabilitation is this, redevelopment is that. And I had advised the township committee, and I'm not the solicitor anymore, but I am handling the litigation. I had advised the township committee that notwithstanding the characterization of rehabilitation or redevelopment, you can do a redevelopment plan that calls for something new. That case was decided 2 months ago by Judge Covert in the Superior Court, May 15th. She decided the case after oral argument. It is settled law. That redevelopment plan was upheld. The differences between rehabilitation and redevelopment, insofar as the plan is concerned, it's ultimately adopted, is pretty much limited to, as I said earlier, in a redevelopment you can condemn, in a rehabilitation you can't. In a rehabilitation area you can allow a 5-year tax abatement, nothing more. In a redevelopment you can allow a long-term pilot financial agreement, which is what has been done here with Blue Water and Black Creek on the big warehouses on 38. So I respectfully disagree that it's not settled law. It is settled law. And the rehabilitation designation can give rise to a redevelopment plan that calls for something more than fixing up some windows or repairing a roof. I think those are the things that were directed to my attention this evening.
Okay, thanks, John. Comments from the committee, let's go with it.
Okay. We have a troll. I love our troll. I had the pleasure of volunteering at the troll build for 4 of the days that the crew was here, and I loved it. I learned how to use a jigsaw and a screw gun, climbed all over, and I just want to make a few thanks and commendations. Public Works were awesome, as they always are, but especially young Andrew Bunting, who worked tirelessly throughout the days that he was assigned to the troll. I'd also like to thank Paula Cosco and Tara. I think you organized the food amazingly. You know, people do get hungry doing physical labor, and the food was always there, it was always timely, it was always delicious, and of course all the people who donated the food have to be commended too. So that was great. The opening was super organized and very, very good fun. With also thanks to Guy Hessel for some amazing photos. I will be at the Klima on Friday. I've been rallying for volunteers. Like Paula says, you need to email and register in advance. I'll add my congratulations to Paula for her nuptials. Very good. And remind everyone the farm fair is on the July 18th to the 22nd. Now, to respond to some of the things that were said by residents, I am prepared to go to the senior citizen meeting on Thursday at 12. I'll go with one other of you, whoever wants to go. We need to somehow coordinate so we don't end up with more than
Bill Buck as a PT at 12:15.
I don't know if I'm
I'm trying to
Okay.
think of it.
Well,
It's 2 days from now, it's noon on a work day, it's difficult, but I certainly will look at my schedule.
okay, well,
If I'm available, I'll let you know, but it's
Okay.
hard for me to tell.
okay,
As long as we only have 2, let's.
right, well, I can be one of them, is what I'm saying.
Good, thank you.
And I personally would like to thank Gwen, she's no longer with us, but I do think that we need to at least revisit the idea of the backyard hen ordinance. The one we have is somewhat out of date, even if all we do is amend it slightly. I definitely think it needs to be revisited, and I hope that Gwen is going to be working with Paula and John and the people, the administrative liaisons, to make that happen. And I think that's, oh yeah, one final thing. I do hope to see in the forthcoming 6 months the other inclusive and less expensive events that are being organized for our wonderful 100th anniversary celebration. Thank you.
Okay. Leland?
Just thank everyone for being here, coming out. I'm sorry that some people left early and missed some of the conversation. I too enjoyed greatly watching the troll being built. It was exciting to come back and see it every other day as it grew into her final being. Wanted to remind people about concerts in the park. Although it was rained out last week, hopefully this weekend will not have rain for a change. Save the date, September 22nd, for the adult dinner dance. It's Friday from 5 to 9. And please download the Hainesport app for updated information.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome Rusty, our world-renowned troll. She's a beauty. Thank you everyone for your help and your continued help. We have some volunteer opportunities coming up, so please do register. In this month's Hainesport calendar, we have a photo of our new municipal playground. So a lot of work went into that, and I'm really happy we got that taken care of. Also got another compliment on our township newsletter. Just keeps coming, so thank you again to Paula and Tara and staff for doing a great job for that. I also want to thank Paula for her work on yet another grant. We had to amend our budget. We had to amend our budget to add revenue. My goodness. What a wonderful thing. You have to add positive money to the budget. Good stuff. Irene Barry, who is our code enforcement officer, we get all these reports. It's in our binder here, and we review all these before the meeting. And she had a 4-page report. I don't remember that long of a report, but she handles the residents with such patience and compassion, and yet she is firm. And she reports and she follows up, and it's a lot of work. And these can be basic things, is the home on the corner that's just not taking care of their property the way they should, or maybe an abandoned building that the people that own it aren't taking care of it. So thank you, Irene Barry. In singling out Irene Barry, it does not mean that I neglect other officers and chair people. I'm just commenting on what she has done. Just like I'm going to say what a great job Donna Casey has done in the Recreation Department. She was real close to the border on how long she had to speak. But thank you for the recreation. And again, by singling out Donna Lynn Casey, I'm not saying the others aren't worthy, or I'm not neglecting them, or I'm not excluding them. I'm just offering compliments to her. The mobile park that's we're trying to help out there, I think it's a great effort to do that, to have affordable housing, to continue and to improve what we have there, I think is a good project. So I'm happy to support that. I also want to congratulate Paul on her wedding vows. And in doing so, I'm not excluding others who are having their wedding vows or people who are married. Where I'm going with this is because we have a fashion show for 125 people, and it's a fundraiser, and because it may be a little pricier than some others, it doesn't mean that we are excluding others that may not be able to attend that fashion show. We will have many events that will include many free things, but in order to have free things, we need to have fundraisers at certain events to have money. And we thank those people that are going to attend and will spend money in helping to fundraise to make those events and more inclusive events for others as we move along. And these are one of the first things, because the Bradford Estates, which is a wonderful facility, if anyone's been there, weddings and those types of things, and we're very happy they're in our town of Hainesport, and they're housing these fashion centers. So good job for the committee there. And like I said, our 100-year anniversary is for everyone, and it's includes everyone. The other thing is, in my business career, I've worked for several large organizations, large international organizations. They're public, they're private, they're partnerships, they're family-owned. And every year we needed to go through a reminder. And some of these things were very obvious, but basically it's ethics, and it's safety and security, and being mindful of privacy, and those types of things. And I was reading recently in a magazine in the New Jersey League of Municipalities magazine, and near the end, it talked about possible legislation coming up to have an ethics course. And I'm just thinking, I don't question anyone's ethics here in this committee, and Bruce Levinson, who's not sitting right here, I don't question any of our ethics, and that's not my own. However, just like in those courses that I've had with those corporations, it's a good reminder to go through these things and to commit and recommit ourselves. So, why wait for a law to come out? We have a nationally recognized and esteemed solicitor here who I know has taught many courses, and I was just wondering, and I haven't discussed this with any of the committee, but John said he's read it in the magazine, is this possible that you might be able to help us with something like this? Is this something we could do before this becomes law? Am I off base with this, or is this something you might be willing to, of course we pay you, but just...
You mean give a seminar?
Sorry?
You mean give a seminar?
Yeah, something like that, just like an ethics seminar, just to remind us all, because eventually I'm assuming that what's being sponsored and what's being proposed here is for all municipal bodies and governing bodies to go to have a course every year. So
yeah.
Why wait for that to come? I mean,
With legislation, I don't know that it's going to pass this year, but yeah, absolutely. If the committee wants to do an ethics day, I'm
okay.
happy.
I appreciate it. I'm just kind of throwing it on everybody,
Yeah.
but
If you're going to do it for committee, you ought to do it for the joint land use board.
for the other boards, yes, I wanted to mention that as well, yes. So I just think it might be good, yeah. So we could, look into that, and I can circle back. It just came upon me. And other than that, I'm sorry, it was a little longer than I thought, but I
Would you want to do it?
appreciate it. God bless Hainesport.
Not the Queen?
God bless.
All right, thank you. First of all, I want to say congratulations to Paula. I'm going to try to keep it short. Concerts in the park are coming up, movies in the park. It's great. I will tell you, I so much love living in this town. Big old Rusty, watching that get built. I wasn't quite sure what it was going to be, what it was going to be like. I was kind of watching, but I will tell you, when it's all done, I was impressed. And now I follow Thomas Dambo on, and it's really interesting. Like he's heading to Michigan now, so it's pretty cool. So, with that, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank our staff for doing a great job, as you always do. I am so impressed. So, you're spectacular. So, again, I want to thank everybody for coming out. And with that, I think we have to pay the bills. So, okay, can I like to
Make a motion that we pay the bills.
I'll second.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
I have to abstain from purchase order 23-00380 because I purchased a hardback Thomas Damo Troll book for the township and I'm being reimbursed. It's available for people to look at, I think, if they want to rent for them. And it's signed to the town, which is really cool. But apart from that, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor Klaus?
Yes. Okay, we do have an executive session. There possibly could be action afterwards, but you're welcome to. Are we staying here or are we going to the back room? We're going to the back room.
For the benefit of the public, it's probably a 15-minute conversation in executive session, the subject matter of which will be made available at the appropriate time when the matter is concluded.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we close